Are you brave enough to listen? Then turn off the lights. Put on your headphones. Feel the cold seep into your bones. Hear the creak of rusty gurneys in the distance. And listen closely for the faint, unsettling whispers that still linger in the air. And let's descend together. Tonight, we're venturing deep into the decaying heart of an abandoned asylum. A place long forgotten by time, where the walls still remember what happened inside. Some say the patients never left. Not really. They just found new ways to make themselves heard. The sign out front barely clung to its hinges. Ravenhurst State Hospital for the mentally insane. The letters were eaten away by rust, like teeth marks. Even in the dying light of dusk, the structure loomed with an unnatural stillness, its windows black and hollow as empty eye sockets. I hadn't planned to come here alone. But when you're a freelance documentarian desperate for something that sells, an abandoned asylum with a history of unexplained disappearances feels like gold. The building had been shut down in 1968 after a fire in the East Wing. The official story blamed faulty wiring. The unofficial one spoke of experiments, patients taken to the basement and never seen again. My name, Alex. I run a small YouTube channel that covers forgotten places, haunted theaters, derelict churches, you name it. But Ravenhurst, this was supposed to be my big break. The main door resisted me like a corpse refusing to move. When it finally gave way, the sound echoed down the halls, disturbing years of silence. My flashlight flickered to life, cutting through the thick air. Dust motes hung like frozen snow, and every step on the cracked linoleum sang a slow, hollow rhythm. The entryway opened into a large reception hall. The smell hit first, mold, iron, and something faintly sweet, like decayed fruit. On the walls, faded patient murals still clung in pastel colors. Happy faces, open meadows, painted by trembling hands decades ago. I started recording. Ravenhurst Asylum, I whispered into the mic, abandoned for over 50 years. Locals say it's cursed, but we're here to find the truth. Something dripped in the corner. Water, I told myself. Just condensation. Then came the whisper. It was so faint, I thought it was the wind sneaking through broken glass. But no, it formed a word. Alex, my name. I froze. The air pressed against me, heavy and damp. The beam of my flashlight trembled as I swept the room. Nothing moved. No sign of anyone. Just a toppled wheelchair resting at an unnatural angle, one wheel still spinning slightly, though I hadn't touched it. I forced a laugh for the camera, for myself. Probably just the wind. But wind doesn't know your name. I moved deeper inside. The corridor stretched endlessly, peeling wallpaper like skin curling from bone. Every few feet, there was a door, patient rooms, their windows covered with rusted bars. Through the cracks, I could see the shadows of old furniture, iron beds, restraints hanging limply, a doll without eyes supplies lying on the floor. As I walked, I found what looked like the patient log. Pages fused together by age and moisture. The last entry was dated October 12, 1968, 2 days before the fire. The handwriting shook across the paper. Subject 47 has begun responding to the auditory stimuli. Claims to hear them clearly now. The walls are speaking. The next hall branched into the medical wing. The smell intensified, metallic, sterile, almost surgical, as though the air itself remembered the scent of blood. I passed a gurney, its wheels caked in rust. A set of leather restraints hung loose, but there were scratches, deep, desperate gouges, in the metal frame. And then something new, the sound of distant humming. A woman's voice, soft, tuneless, drifting from the dark ahead. I followed, unable to stop myself. The source was room 212. The door stood open a crack. Inside, the flashlight beam revealed a small bed, sheets torn and yellowed. On the wall, a message scrawled in something dark and flacking. They told me to sing so they could sleep. I swallowed hello. The humming stopped. For a second, there was silence, the kind that claws at your eardrums. Then, just behind me, a voice whispered again. Alex. I turned so fast, the camera slipped from my hand. The flashlight rolled, spinning a wild beam across the ceiling. There, just for an instant, I saw something. A figure standing at the end of the hallway, pale and motionless. Not a shadow, not a trick of light. A person. And then it was gone. I backed into the room, slamming the door shut. My breath came in gasps. The temperature had dropped, frost gathered on the window bars. My breath fogged in the air. I replayed the audio on my recorder. The whisper was there, clear, distinct, but there was another voice layered beneath it. A man, hoarse, deliberate, like someone speaking from the bottom of a well. Welcome back, doctor. The word hit me like ice water. Doctor. I wasn't a doctor, but when I lifted the camera again, I noticed something in the reflection of the cracked glass on the door, my face. Yes, but behind it, faint and translucent, another man's face overlapping mine. Older, tired eyes, a surgical mask hanging around his neck. I stumbled back. The humming started again. Only now, it wasn't coming from one direction. It surrounded me. I fled the medical wing, running through the maze of corridors, past half-collapsed ceilings and rooms filled with broken beds. My footsteps echoed alongside others, not mine. Too many, too fast. I found myself in the hydrotherapy ward. Giant, rusted bathtubs sat in rows, their drains black with residue. One tub still held water, stagnant and cloudy. Something moved beneath the surface. I leaned closer. A face broke through the water, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream. I stumbled backward, but the tub was empty again. On the wall above it, you drowned us so we'd be quiet. I was shaking now. Every corridor looked the same. The building's layout was wrong, impossible. I turned corners that led me in circles, stairs that descended, but somehow ended where I started. I passed a window and looked out, but where the outside should have been, there was only darkness, as if the asylum floated in a void. I pressed my hand to the glass. It was warm, and then, faintly, it pulsed beneath my touch, like skin. When I finally found the basement stairs, I should have known better. But curiosity, or maybe something else, pulled me down. Each step groaned underfoot. The air was thicker here, heavy with rot and something like formaldehyde. The corridor at the bottom was lined with locked metal doors, each labeled experiment room. I tried one. It creaked open easily. Inside, an operating table sat under a single flickering bulb. On the walls, dozens of patient photos were pinned up, faces blurred or burned away. Only one photo was clear, mine. Underneath, scrawled in the same handwriting from the logbook, Subject 47. The whispers crescendoed, dozens of voices now, overlapping, pleading, mocking. Doctor, help us. Doctor, why did you leave us? Stay. I bolted for the stairs, but they were gone. Only a solid wall remained. The lights dimmed to black, then flared again, and in front of me, shapes began to emerge. Dozens of figures, pale and distorted, pressing out from the walls themselves. Their mouths opened, releasing a chorus of whispers and sobs. Their faces weren't quite human anymore, stretched, melted into the structure like wet clay. They reached for me. Hands broke through plaster. One gripped my wrist, cold, rough, impossibly strong. Doctor, it said, its mouth inches from mine. You can't leave again. My camera fell, still recording. The last thing it captured was the ceiling flickering between frames of the empty room and something else. A clean, functioning hospital, doctors in white coats, and a younger version of me overseeing a procedure. Patients screaming, electric arcs flashing, a voice, mine, saying, increase the dosage. If they hear the voices, we'll make them listen. Then static. The footage was found 2 weeks later by a group of urban explorers. The police report concluded that the building had collapsed further, and that I'd been lost somewhere in the rubble. No body was ever recovered. Locals say that if you stand near the gates at midnight, you can still hear faint humming from inside. And if you whisper, Doctor, sometimes a voice whispers your name in return. So tell me, listener, would you still go in, knowing some walls never forget? Because here, in the ruins of Ravenhurst Asylum, the patients are waiting, and they've been waiting a very, very long time. Welcome back, Doctor. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the forgotten halls of the mind. If you enjoyed tonight's story, or if it followed you into your dreams, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss what waits in the shadows. Every week, we open another door, and sometimes the door opens back. So until next time, keep your lights low, your eyes open, and if someone whispers from the darkness, don't answer.